thank you for your creation and being part of your design. We are all your creation. Just thank you for unending love. Lord, you have also given us the authority to govern us, people. Tonight I ask that you give our mayor and council members guidance and wisdom as they make decisions that guide our community. Instill in us that respect and honor that is due them. And I thank you for these men and women who lead our community. I also pray for every citizen in Watertown. Help us to see the treasures of living in this community that you have given us as a gift. May the eyes of all turn to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Seth. All right, being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call our meeting to order. Megan, will you please take the roll?
Davis. Here. Lampy.
Here.
Board. Here. Bartz. Blanky.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Schmid. Wetzel. Here. Moldenhauer.
Here.
Very good. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on our agenda is the minutes of the council meeting from August 1st. Comments or questions from anybody on those? All right. Next is comments and suggestions from citizens present. Do you have anyone, Megan? Yep.
Randy Arbogast.
All right. Tonight, I just want to start out just two things. Number one is a thank you to both the city planning office. I'm guessing at some of these other departments, but the water department, forestry department, road department, really for the outstanding work on my street. So it's a little self-serving tonight. I live on South Washington Street, and when they started, and I don't remember when it was, but every contractor that I've gone out and talked to and given water to or whatever, told them to hurry up. No, I didn't do that. But they've been outstanding, top-notch, their speed, their professionalism. 30-plus years ago, I lived on that street as a high school student. And when we bought a house 2 years ago, I saw the same crumbling curbs, gutters. I watched the snowplow gentleman have to raise his plow over several manholes, sometimes not being very successful and having to fix his plow. My thought was often this: why don't they fix city streets more often? I mean, everybody says that when they hit a pothole. However, the work that it has taken to upgrade the city street, I am in awe of the crews and the work that has to be done. And so all involved, for me, I just want to say a big thank you. Pretty soon, the dust that we have lived with all summer is going to be replaced with a brand new surface. The crumbling curbs that caused my wife to fall last winter, they're gone. Crumbling, raised, and dangerous sidewalks, smooth and nice. And now, every corner is not only handicap upgraded, but it's also, because I have 3 grandchildren, 2 years and under, they are stroller and wagon compliant. And so for that, I just say thank you to the city for that work. Secondly then, I just want to make just a couple comments concerning the previous meeting. Not necessarily, obviously I would stand here tonight and disagree with the choice of the Pride in the Park and their lifestyle and all that it brings, but I'm not here tonight to debate that. What I am concerned with just 2 issues with last week's meeting. Number one, for the city of Watertown, as we went through that, and I didn't get to stay the whole time because I had to go, so I made it till about 6:15, but the processes seemed very lax as far as who understood who did what. I would really like to see the city of Watertown clean up and have a very regimented process for that. To our chief of police, thank you for the training for your officers. I was amazed at all the training that you listed, and I appreciate all that they do. My question with that would be with him and his officers' expertise. I might have missed it, but I think it was an executive council thought when you guys left, but who would overrule the expert with that much training? I don't think it was an officer. I don't think it was any of our older people. And so my question would be, as I just throw it out there, who overruled someone with all of that training? Lastly, I am not here tonight to pick on any particular individuals, but I am concerned when our city attorney asked a basic constitutional liberty question. Number one, couldn't come up with an answer at first, but then his only answer when he did was, it's a complicated answer. And that would concern me. There are certain basic liberties that we as citizens here in Watertown are afforded. And I would like to see those things protected in the city going forward in the future. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else, Megan?
Michael Ingles.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate the word, prayer. We've already met. So I want to address the city council, kind of bringing up what he had brought up about the Pride Festival that happened on the 29th. Police chief does nothing. Police chief, you're hiding. I've been trying to get in touch with you guys to find out what happened that day as to why Christians were arrested for simply reading the gospel. While you had perverts, you'll have to excuse my language, but perverts dancing around in front of small children. You guys allowed that. As far as I can see, and you might want to look this up, that's 2 Wisconsin state statutes that were broken by these perverts. But yet your department goes after people that are reading nothing but the Bible. We want answers as a public. I'm an investigative journalist. I am coming in and finding out. I've already been denied body cam footage. I want answers. So anybody have an answer for that today, or are we going to continue to hide? Anybody?
I'm sorry, sir, we can't respond back to your questions
Exactly.
during public comment.
And you, I've tried to get in touch with you for a couple of days last week. Apparently you're always out. Police chief's always out. We demand answers. When are those going to happen? When am I going to get body cam footage? You don't have to answer that, obviously. But you are very short-winded about things. This is the city attorney. Is anybody else here that want that answers? I'm sure they do. We allow perversion of children, but we prosecute and persecute Christians. I want the charges dropped for those teenagers that are involved in this. So I want to make sure that's perfectly clear. I will stand outside this department every day that I can, and I will read the Word of God until somebody has an answer. And come September, I might be back here with 1,000 people lined up around this building. Just look forward to that one. And we're all going to peacefully assemble. We're not going to break any laws, but we are going to read the book of God. And I'm sure he can agree with me, but I'm sure he doesn't want to say anything now. So that's my 2 cents. I hope somebody can come up with some kind of transparency in this department. Otherwise, I'm going to bring more news agencies involved in this, and we will have 1,000+ people standing around this building. That's my time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we do have another opportunity at the end of our meeting as well. Let's move to reports. You all have the Plan Commission minutes for May 8th and May 22nd.
Mayor?
Oh,
I'm sorry, there was a late entrant.
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for interrupting. Yep, come on up.
I didn't know if I could stipulate the meeting. So
Yeah, come on up. Sorry about that. Thanks for interrupting.
Bentley, O'Neill, Watertown. Sometimes I read the Federalist Papers by Hamilton and Madison, who wrote the Constitution. But in Federalist 10, one of the papers, he wrote about the importance of representative government and a functioning representative government because government has a monopoly on power. That's the way it has to be. But representation and a representative government can slow that down and guide it properly. So what has happened in Watertown government, or what has occurred recently with Watertown government, what I would say the power of the Watertown government? Well, last year, this is not intended to pick on anybody either, but last year, Mayor Emily, and we do have the recording, I'm just kind of recapping, said to the leader of the Unity Project, Watertown's getting better. You know, it's the mayor of Watertown, not representatives. Without representation in action, the representatives haven't been able to really do much during this period while all of this has been going on because they haven't been able to had a mechanism to be able to respond to what's been going on, and it's really escalated, you know, to the point of having the Nazis here last week. The leader of the Unity Group, and we have sworn affidavits on this, I was in the conversation, said it is not enough to be tolerant, you must affirm. You know, the group is a forced affirmation group, literally subversive. These agendas of these groups out there, and they're tied to groups out in the nation, they had out-of-state help, subversive of First Amendment rights of parents. I mentioned that there are laws coming on the books, coming fast in different states that will make parents felons for not affirming their children's decision to gender change and even get into genital mutilation, as it's called. These groups force institutions to allow males into girls' locker rooms. You know, girls have been assaulted there. This is big stuff. This is not your friendly neighborhood Unity Project group, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You know, this is not your friendly neighborhood Unity Project group. But, you know, this has all been happening without representatives being able to act and respond to this. It's just pretty much been, and not to pick on people, but this has pretty much been the mayor and city attorney giving advice. Dump trucks, graders, bad looks with the police department. The gentleman was just up here talking about the arrest. This does not look good. At best, it's bad looks, you know? These arrests, now we have lawsuits against the city. This has all been happening without representation. We need representation. We need the representatives to be able to respond to this, to slow down what's going on. As Madison wrote in Federalist 10, to slow the power, the monopoly that government has. I mean, we couldn't do anything. The representatives couldn't do anything because they didn't have any power. They don't have a mechanism. And now, here's a post from the inner circle of the Unity Project. I'll finish up quickly here. Here's a post this week. Special shout out to literal effing Nazis who showed up with assault rifles. Without your presence, we'd never get the national press coverage to spread our message. That's sick. This is not your favorite, your friendly neighborhood Unity Project group. Another message, and I'll finish up very quickly here. Another message, if you're standing on the side of the fence with the Nazis, you better do some reevaluation. So you have Gays Against Groomers standing on the side with Nazis. You know, the Nazis walked up, concerned parents, and now this group is like coming after the good, decent citizens of Watertown. This is what's happened. So we need representation. We need a mechanism for the representatives to be able to respond to this. And that's what we're requesting and demanding politely, to get a mechanism in place so that things can be reviewed. Right now, there isn't an ability to review, and we need that. And so we're demanding that review, because representative government protects the nation, it protects our city. And so that is what we're requesting, and cities around, communities and cities around have that. They have the ability to review and respond, and things would not escalate to the point that they did with possible dangers, and even the last gentleman wouldn't have been up here. I mean, this is not good for Watertown. So we request and demand mechanisms, something to be written up so that the city council members, a city council member can say, hey, the public cares about this, we need to review this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So with that, let's move to reports. You will have the Plan Commission minutes from May 8th and 22nd, Transit from June 5th, Site Plan from June 12th, and then Plan Commission from June 19th and 26th, Licensing from July 12th, Site Plan from July 24th, Finance from July 24th, Public Safety from August 2nd, and then Public Works from August 8th. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of those minutes? Mr. Blanky.
I have one.
Sure.
It's on page 27 and 28 of the Public Works minutes.
Okay.
I'm getting to that page so I can have more direct. So on letter C, it states that the engineering division has sought quotes for the design and underlighting of the above referenced bridge. That's the Main Street Bridge. A number was placed in the 2023 budget for $25,000 for the design. The design quotes came in at $39,000 and $51,906. The decision was made in committee to postpone that design bid until next year and up the amount to $50,000 for a design quote on lighting on a bridge. Now, I understand that this is a year out at this point, but is $50,000 towards a design for lighting, not the actual lighting, just the design, a wise application of city dollars?
Yeah, so I wasn't there. But I guess the only thing I can offer is, in reading the same thing you read, being placed in the budget will give us a good opportunity to have that exact same discussion. My hunch is that's why they did it, but maybe the folks
And
that were there
if
would.
it's brought up in the budget, needless to say, I'll bring it up again with
Yeah,
the
of
same
course.
question.
I mean, if our city internal team was directed to put something in the budget, they'll put it in based on that direction. But anyone that was there want to speak, was the thought, put it in so then it can be discussed? Anyone from Public Works want to weigh in on that?
Just the costs, like everything, have gone up. So we said, let's wait. Can't do it this year, let's look next year. Double what we put into it, and it'll come up with finance.
Yeah, I mean, I can share internally, those of us that are working on the bridge, Jane Ellen, Andrew, myself, we all had the same reaction you had. And that's why we said, we weren't comfortable moving forward, but we also weren't comfortable with the exposure that the bridge has gotten to make that decision and not at least take it to a committee for them to weigh in as well. I didn't want us to be 2 years down the road and someone to look at us and say, well, why didn't you put underlighting on the bridge? So.
My concern is, if we're looking at
Yeah, I'm
$50,000
with you.
just for the design, figure at least double that to put it in.
Yeah.
At least, so $150,000 for underlighting of a bridge.
Yeah.
Seems like a large expense for something that isn't actually necessary and, as stated in the minutes, could be done at a future date.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Any comments on any other minutes from anybody? Okay. All right, let's go to communication and recommendations. We do have August employee recognition, and I didn't realize I was on this sheet of paper. I pointedly said to remove me from it, but we have Jane Ellen Holloway here from the Department of Public Works. As her direct supervisor, I get to talk a little bit about her. So Jane Ellen, if you'd like to come up. Right away, 'cause I can't hold both. All right. As you guys know, I always appreciate the opportunity to highlight members of our city team, but it's not that often we get to talk about our leadership team, because there's not that many of them. So this evening, I'm really pleased to be able to highlight just for a minute or two about Jane Ellen and her commitment to our community. So Jane Ellen's been with us for 10 years and has served as our Director of Public Works and / City Engineer since April of 2021. In her time with the city, she has worked to establish a strategic and coordinated approach to public works operations, and in particular, our annual street reconstruction and maintenance work. Jane Ellen came to the city with a wealth of knowledge. She worked in both the public and private sector in Illinois, and that experience has proven very beneficial to us in this community many, many times. Jane Ellen is able to weigh in on and provide expertise to a diverse array of projects and topics, and that experience has allowed us to evaluate different ways of working and find solutions that are more complete and more fulfilling in the long term. In addition to bringing new ideas to our big city team, Jane Ellen really prides herself on caring for her team, the Public Works team. She's an advocate for them, and she pushes for what they need in order to perform their jobs at a high level. Jane Ellen cares and spends the time building a positive culture. What her team invests in this city, she invests in them plus some. Not only does Jane Ellen provide really incredible technical experience and exhibits sincere care and loyalty to her team, but among her peers on the leadership team, she is always our very detailed person. If we're in the beginning stages of planning, like the employee appreciation event at Christmas time, and we're very high level, I can look around the room and see Jane Ellen with her perfect penmanship, penciling out the tiniest of details. When we're still talking about food, she'll be calculating out how many serving spoons we need and where the tables will be in the room. Her attention to detail is a characteristic that allows us to keep juggling many balls at the same time. On a personal level, Jane Ellen is our burst of summer at all times. She's not shy to share how much she does not prefer winter. Jane Ellen lives joyfully during the summer and lives with great anticipation of a trip to Florida during the winter. She loves flamingos, a good find at the thrift store, and all things that are bright and glittery. She is known to draw the best and clearest sketches of roadway infrastructure and is always patient and polite with me when she completes the drawing and I ask, "Where is the road?" So in all sincerity, in Jane Ellen's decade with this city, she has truly paved a way for others. She mentors, she offers her experience and her intellect. She doesn't shy away from the dirty work or work that is not in her job description or even in her department. And she takes the time to make sure that people understand. Jane Ellen's commitment to this city is a gift. Our community is better because she chose to serve us. So thank you for your 10 years here. All right, the next item under recommendations is the Watertown Fire Department July report. Anybody have? Ms. Davis?
I'll say something. So it was a record-breaking month for July, according to the report. Would you say that a part of that has to do not with necessarily events that happened in the city of Watertown, but it looks like that we assisted with lots of fire calls outside of the city this particular month? Or maybe all months, but...
We did. We started off the month of July mutual aiding a lot with our neighboring departments on some significant fires that they had. I think the week of July 4th, we were down in Jefferson 3 or 4 times, and then we had our own calls to take care of as well. We've also been mutual aiding a lot on ambulance calls.
So is that because in those particular areas, are they down when it comes to service, people working? Are they down in firefighters, EMS, or is it just happen to be a busy month?
This just happened to be a busy month.
Yeah.
They responded to their own calls, but on top of that, we had a lot of calls or their calls were severe enough where they needed assistance from outside agencies. And we weren't the only ones to
Sure.
respond. Other communities went as well.
I have another question. I always kind of take a look at the types of emergency calls. And I do have some interest in learning more about the drugs that are being used in our community, but also I'm interested in knowing if there's a rise overall in drug use. And that may not be something that you look at in your report, but I wonder if you could direct me, or perhaps Chief Kaminsky, where should I go to find that information? Is that a Jefferson County, Dodge County information that I should seek out if I'm interested in seeing trends in drug use in our community?
Yeah, I think that would be a good place to start. Also would check with hospitals to see what
they publish
information
that?
they would have on. I don't know if they would or not, but, or if they do.
Having served a little bit on the health board, I'd probably suggest checking with Carol. She may have that stuff on the tip of her fingers.
Okay, I will do that.
I would say that I could probably connect you with the Jefferson County Drug Task Force, and they could probably give you information on the trends in Jefferson County and in Watertown.
I have had several community members who are expressing concern, and it would be interesting to see the data to see if we are seeing a rise in drug use in our community.
Sure.
Any other questions on the fire department report? Mr. Lampe?
I also observed the same that you did, Alderman Davis, with regard to the high number of calls. I did have a question in terms of how to interpret one of the charts on page 33, where we're looking at the breakdown of advanced or basic life-saving calls. So there's an ALS number and there's a BLS number, but they don't quite add up to the total number. But the total number looks bigger than both. Is that like a no-action call, or how should we interpret that?
That would be like the lift assist where we don't have ambulance or
EMS runs, okay, all that kind of stuff that goes in there. Medical alerts, there is no actual patient.
Okay, that helps, thank you.
Anybody else on this one? All right, very good. Let's move to the accounts payable then.
I would so move.
Motion by Mr. Moldenhauer, seconded by Mr. Bartz. Any discussion on the accounts from anyone? Mr. Blanky.
On page 50, first item, Proline Entertainment. The description is Town Square Entertainment in the amount of $4,750 for events expenses. Can someone connect the dots for me as to what that exactly was for?
Proline Entertainment is the contractor that secures the bands for the square. So it's a contract, like a professional contracting service that does the contracting with the bands, the day of music, sound and light coordination, I believe, and then they're the on-site point of contact for the bands as they like take breaks and go in and out of the library.
So I was under the impression that the Town Square Entertainment Fund, or the Town Square Fund would be funding that, and this is a line item on the city budget.
Those expenses, it's
It's on 26.
yeah, those expenses aren't in the general fund, but they are in budgets that we manage and would report on accounts payable. So it's in fund, that's why it's coming out of 26 versus 01. And I'm chuckling because this is like the first meeting Mark's not here for, and he actually would have had questions to answer, so he's going to be bummed.
I must have been bored this weekend going through the
No,
lines
I
of the
was reading
budget.
too. I'm glad you
I
do.
usually try to look at it.
No, I'm glad you do. I did too.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else on this one? Megan?
Moldenhauer. Davis. Lampy. Ford. Bartz. Blanky.
Aye.
Smith. Wetzel. Motion passed 8-0.
All right, next is miscellaneous business. You all have the payroll summary from July 12th to 25th, cash and investment summary from July 31st. Questions or comments on either of those two reports? All right, then let's go to licenses. Your first item in your packet is the memo to the council from the city clerk. And then I do have a couple of suggested groupings of these, but we can also take them all individually. So I'm able to take items B and C together if there would be a motion to do so. Otherwise, we can certainly do them separate as well. So item B is to review and take action on an application for a Class B malt and liquor license for the Score Sports Bar. Jamie Ellis is the agent. This is currently licensed to Yangers. And then C is to review and take action on an application for a Class B malt and liquor for ABW Enterprises doing business as Mobay Wine and Dine. And this is at 301 East Main Street. Is there a motion on one or both of those? Mr. Blanky?
I'll make a motion that we take items B and C together, and I would move that we approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. Blanky, second by Mr. Bartz. Comments or questions on these from anyone? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, and then I'd like to offer another. We could do D, E, and F together as well, or take them separately. D is to review and take action on an application for a temporary Class B license for the Watertown Elks Lodge. This is for their music and beanbag fundraiser on August 19th. Item E is an application for a temporary Class B license for the Sounds of Summer concert series. The Main Street program would be performing this temporary Class B license on August 24th. And item F is a temporary Class B license, again, for the Sounds of Summer concert series with the Main Street program on August 26th. Is there a motion for one?
Also move.
For one or for all three together, sir?
All three.
So a motion to approve items D, E, and F by Mr. Moldenhauer. Is there a second on that?
Second?
Second by Alderman Blanky. Any discussion on these from anyone? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. And then lastly, I can take G, H, and I together if you also choose, but again, we can do independent. Item G is to review and take action on an application for an operator license for George Melville. Item H is the application for the operator license for Cody Punzel. And item I is the operator license for Antonio Cruz. And if I recall correctly, Megan, those all three were recommended. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I would make a motion to consider G, H, and I together and to deny each of those three.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Lampy. Motion by Mr. Smith. Any questions or discussion from anyone? All those in favor of the denial of these three, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, let's go to ordinances. We only have one this evening. It's ordinance 23-20. This is an ordinance to amend section 500-9B, parking prohibited at specified times in our city code. This is here from Ms. Davis in Public Safety and Welfare on its first reading. Ms. Davis?
I'll make a motion to approve this ordinance 500-9B.
Motion,
To amend section 500-9B, I'm sorry.
so it's a motion to approve ordinance 2320, correct?
Thank you.
All right, motion by Ms. Davis. Was there a second? Second by Mr. Board. Comments or questions from anyone on this ordinance? Megan?
Davis. Lampy. Board. Bartz. Blanky.
Aye.
Smith. Wetzel. Moldenhauer. Motion passed 8-0.
Very good. Let's go to resolutions. Our first is Exhibit 9526. This is a resolution to endorse an updated highway functional classification system map for the City of Watertown urban area. This is here from Alderman Wetzel and Public Works.
I'll move for 9526.
Motion by Mr. Wetzel, second by Mr. Smith. Comments? Questions? Mr. Lampy?
So I believe this risk classification affects an area that we are looking at for some local granting, right around the corner of First and Western. I was wondering if we could get an update to know if whether or not we sort of, if the timing is right on this, so that we are still eligible for the granting we were looking at for that corner.
Do you want me to go to Andrew's on? You or Andrew, either one is fine by me.
Andrew, I'll build this one.
Okay.
So we have received an STP local grant for the section of First Street between Milwaukee and Western, and for Western between First and Third Street. So the classification won't affect that. We have already received the grant. We'll be doing design in 2024, and the state has already put this in their schedule to be constructed in 2025.
Thank you.
Mr. Blanky?
I just wanted to thank Andrew Byer. At our last meeting, I had several questions on the highway classification map, and he was very thorough in his answers.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this one? Megan?
Wetzel.
Aye.
Moldenhauer. Davis. Lampy.
Aye.
Board. Bartz. Blanky.
Aye.
Smith. Motion passed 8-0.
Very good. Our next resolution is Exhibit 9528. This is a resolution to award the 2024, 25, and 26 Annual Street and Utility Program designed to Grave, again from Alderman Wetzel and Public Works.
I'll move for 9528.
Motion by Mr. Wetzel, second by Mr. Smith. Questions or comments on this one? Jane Ellen, if I'm not mistaken, this will allow us to have the design for Oconomowoc Avenue, or is that already completed?
That will include design on
Oconomowoc Avenue is one we get a lot of comments about, so if you represent Oconomowoc Avenue, this is a good resolution for you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Anybody else on this one?
I say, related somewhat to this will
Sure.
help street construction in the future.
Yeah.
The conflicts of private utilities and construction. And this year too, we have completed a large number of
Linear feet. Yep.
of street this year. And because of the money saved, we were able to do extra ones as well. And not to be a street hog, but 3 of the 4 extra ones are my district, so I'm glad for that.
Let's move on. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, it's streets we've heard a lot about, and your points are very valid, so I appreciate it. Anybody else on this one? Megan?
Wetzel. Moldenhauer. Davis. Lampy. Board. Bartz. Blanky.
Aye.
Smith. Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you. Next is Exhibit 9529. This is a resolution to enter into an employee income continuation insurance benefit contract with Employee Trust Funds effective January 1st, 2024. This is here from me and the Finance Committee.
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Moldenhauer, second by Ms. Davis. Comments or questions from anybody on this one? Megan?
Moldenhauer. Davis.
Aye.
Lampy. Board. Bartz.
Aye.
Blanky. Smith. Wetzel. Motion passed 8-0.
Next is Exhibit 9530. This is a resolution to repeal out-of-class pay policy within our city handbook, policy and procedures. This is here for me and the Finance Committee. Ms. Davis?
I'll move for Exhibit 9530.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Davis and a second by Mr. Blanky. Comments or questions from anybody on this one? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, let's go to our next. That's Exhibit 9531. This is a resolution to amend the 2023 City of Watertown budget, again for me and the Finance Committee. Motion by Mr. Board, second by Mr. Blanky. Comments or questions on this one? Megan?
Board,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Blanky,
Aye.
Smith, Wetzel, Moldenhauer, Davis, Lampy. Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you. And our last exhibit is 9532. This is a resolution to enter into an agreement for the stabilization of the Masonic Temple and reconstruction of the Main Street Bridge. This is here from me. Mr. Lampy? Motion by Mr. Lampy, second by Ms. Davis. Questions?
Is this a project that's done separate from the reconstruction of the bridge or simultaneously?
This work will begin likely within about a month or so.
How long will it impact the bridge itself as far as people
We're-
being able to traverse
The goal is
it?
for well, I'm going to let Jane Ellen answer how long it would affect traffic. The goal is for the work to be completed on the Masonic Temple piece and the northwest side by March, and we believe we'll have some traffic lane interruptions, but we should be able to keep some open as well.
We have a pre-bid meeting coming up this week, and we'll be able to vet out a little bit more of what our bidders are thinking or proposing, how they'll set up their equipment to accomplish the stabilization of the Masonic Temple. What we're hoping to be able to do is remove parking on the south side of Main Street between Water Street and First Street, and put both lanes of traffic, eastbound and westbound, over in the eastbound lane, and we'll be closing off then the westbound lane in front of the Masonic Temple and in and around the bridge. That's what we're hoping to do, but again, at this point, we don't know exactly what equipment a contractor will be proposing to use to do some of this work, and depending on where they need to set it, there may be times that the road will be closed for a time, but we don't anticipate it having a complete road closure for the entire time of this project, possibly just a day here, a day there, and again, possibly not at all. But we won't know until we're under contract and the contractor lists what equipment will be on the project.
Mr. Blanky?
Jane Ellen?
Yep.
Don't go away. So you mentioned we're in the pre-bidding process.
Correct.
I know you can't nail down a date, but do you have kind of an anticipated start date on this work?
Right now, what we're trying to do is get this opened by the end of the month and get it awarded by the end of the month, the very beginning of September. A contractor has 15 days per our contract agreements to turn in a signed contract, their certificate of insurance, their payment and performance bond. We're very hopeful that this work will start around either the third or fourth week in September. That's as about a fast track as we can get it to go.
And there's a piggyback question on that, because Katy Street Bridge, the work is supposed to start on that shortly after Labor Day. And I know you don't anticipate lane closures, but
Yep.
with both of those, how long is Katy Street anticipated to take, and will those two impact each other based on the fact that we might have two main crossings under construction at the
Weather
same time?
permitting, we're anticipating that Katy Street will be 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And that is supposed to start up right after Labor Day, so they'll hopefully be halfway done before the other project starts. But I'm not gonna lie, there's could potentially a 2 to 3 week period where we could have some congestion problems on both of the bridges. But it's just the perfect storm at this point.
Getting them repaired is the priority.
Yes.
We'll deal with the heartache. Just wanted to kind of get the time frame on the heartache. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Katy Street fully closed for those 4 to 6 weeks?
No, it will not be fully closed during that time, but there will be times it will be.
Right.
When we're paving, when there's a concrete pour, there'll be times that it will be intermittently closed to traffic. But it should not be closed the entire time. We don't anticipate that right now.
And do you mind just sharing a little bit about the notification? So, they have, once we say come to town, they have 10 to 15 days to come to town, but they may say, oh, we'll be here tomorrow. So we do our best to put out press releases. When they say, oh, well, we'll be here tomorrow, that's when we typically would do our best to hand deliver. And can you
Yes.
just speak a little bit to that? Because as we begin this process, I think it's important. I think, do a really good job of communicating to people when we have enough time to. But when a contractor says they're coming, especially to your point, a project like this, we want to say yes. So you may get times where people say, well, I didn't know.
So please understand, number one, Katy Street Bridge is a state project. So they have their own project managers, their own project engineers. They will run that project, and what they'll be is weekly check-ins, and we normally participate in those weekly check-ins. From that information, we'll gather information that then will release press releases on the state's behalf to keep our citizenry informed of what's going on during the K Street Bridge project. But please understand, again, that is a state project. Emily is correct. The Masonic Temple project will be a city contract, and there will be notifications that we give a contractor of a certain, they must start by a certain date. And they have to do that. There's penalties for that. It's rare that they don't meet that. But again, this project is starting in fall. What do we know about fall? That's when rain starts. As we get into October and November, there'll be freezing. So there'll be potential rain delays, weather delays that could extend the project out a little bit further. It won't have anything to do with that they're not doing their job. It's just there may be some stoppages due to weather. But again, we'll try to keep the public notified through press releases. And we've had a very aggressive system over the last few years with all that's going on with the bridge of actually taking down and handing notices to the businesses on Main Street between Water and First to keep them involved in what's going on. And we'll continue to do that with the Masonic Temple project as well.
Other questions for Jane Ellen? Thank you, Jane Ellen. Any other questions just in general on this one? Megan?
Lampy. Ward. Bartz. Blanky.
Aye.
Smith. Wetzel. Moldenhauer. Davis. Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you. We do have another opportunity for comments or suggestions from citizens present. All right, seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Lampy, second by Mr. Bartz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.